everyone. I'm Jordan Brown, and this is a case study analysis over 3M, the company, from where it began to where it is today. Moving on into the overview section, these will be the main points that are touched on, including 3M's background, their strategies that they've implemented, including functional, business, and corporate, 3M's competitive advantage, a look at Porter's 5 forces as they relate to 3M, a SWOT analysis, changes that have been made since its founding, and lastly, the recommendations that I have gathered from this. So next we look at the background of 3M. So looking at the background, it was created in 1902 by 5 Minnesota businessmen when they had established the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company. This was all in hopes of finding a mineral that was used for producing sandpaper, and their plan was to mass produce the sandpaper and make a big profit off of it. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find the mineral used for their sandpaper, and instead they found a mineral that was less useful and didn't actually end up working. So their company almost failed entirely, although with the help of hiring William McKnight, they were able to turn 3M into what it is today. So all of this led to the innovation of masking tape, which was 3M's first innovative product. And 3M, I believe it was so successful because they thought out of the norm. They did things differently than what companies have done for years. These include bringing out, it was one of the first companies to break the norm of overusing management in the innovation process, which led innovators having the freedom to think and do on their own terms and time. They also implemented unique norms such as the 15% rule, the Tech Forum, the 25-5 rule, the 34 rule, and finally the 7-cent rule. So taking a closer look at the out-of-the-norm strategies that were implemented on the functional and business levels, first we have the 15% rule, which allowed employees to use 15% of their work hour time to spend working on projects that were unrelated to their current work-related projects. Next was the 25-5 rule, which ensured that the innovative products produced would still be profitable after the 5 years. Saying that 25% of 3M's company year profits had to come from products produced in the last 5 years. Ultimately, the 25-5 rule was overtaken by the 34 rule, which had the same terms of being 4 years with 30% of that year's profits. Lastly was the 7-cent rule, which was a promise of 3M to its innovators that 7 cents of every $1 of sales would be invested into the company's research and development. So next we take a look at the strategies on the corporate level. These include cross-venture business sectors, which 3M initially only was interested in the abrasive and tape products, but they quickly realized that there were multiple markets available to them and multiple innovative product opportunities that they could potentially get into. 3M created 6 different divisions inside the one big company to fill these opportunities, which included the healthcare, industrial and transportation, display and graphics, consumer and office, electro and communications, and safety, security, and protection services. So next we have diversification, which 3M was limited diversification into the 6 businesses that were sure to meet customer needs and thus be profitable for them. They realized that they needed to expand their businesses because one wouldn't be enough to fulfill all of the customers' needs with just having that one branch, basically. And each of these 6 different businesses are not related to each other, and they serve customers each independently and in different ways. Next, we have decentralization, which 3M is an early adopter of this organizational form. They were one of the first to implement this into this large of a company, and it's worked very well for them. Each product division was designed to run independently and be individually profitable. They realized that within these 6 different businesses, they had to create a team that was separate from each other and thus be profitable on their own. And lastly is the strengthening position in existing business. They were able to maintain position by continuous innovation of new products and by meeting customers' changing needs. As you would imagine, with the size of company that 3M is, they do carry a big competitive advantage over their rivals. This is due to the fact that they have extensive technology, extensive innovation, and a magnitude of research and development that not a lot of companies have nowadays. And this is seen through the products that they've been able to produce and the sheer amount of innovative ideas that they have produced. This is along with the level of expertise that the 3M team exudes. They are able to put the necessary funding and research and time into finding the perfect product and how it could help customers. So with this, they are able to employ the necessary research and funding that a project requires. They have the funds and the time to do so, and they have the expertise of employees to do so as well. They currently have over 500 patent awards, which is insane for any type of company. Their current competitors include Honeywell, Johnson & Johnson, DuPont, and General Electric. So next we look at the Porter's 5 forces as they relate to 3M. First we have the intensity of rivalry, which in the main industry is low, and that's not surprising because of the sheer size of 3M and the amount of time it's been around. They have the funding and the research team to outbeat and outcompete any of its competitors. Although in the 6 other businesses, they do have a moderate amount of rivalry to them, mainly due to the fact that they haven't been around as long and they are on the same sizing scale as 3M as a whole is. Moving on, we have the threat of new entrants, which in the main industry remains low as well, again, because the size of it and competitors can't compete with the brand recognition that 3M has created for themselves and the sheer size that 3M has. Now on the subsidiary industries, it remains high, which again is mainly due to it's on a smaller scale, so new entrants have a better chance of competing against them due to funding and But moving on, we have the bargaining power of buyers, which in the main industry remains low again, and then in the subsidiary is low as well. So continuing on with Porter's 5 forces as they relate to 3M, we now move on to the bargaining power of suppliers, which again in the main industry remains low, And that's due to the fact that 3M provides its own research and development team, um, which is a huge advantage for 3M. Also, it has the ability to purchase materials from suppliers that are located around the globe. This is due to brand recognition and having 3M across the globe. And then in the 6 subsidiaries, it is low as well, and this is due to a segmented market. Now, moving on, we have the threat of rivals, which in the main industry remains low, and that is due to its new product development and commercialization. And then in the 6 subsidiaries, it is high, and that is because it doesn't carry the amount of force through new product developments. So now we take a look at a SWOT analysis for 3M. We first look at the strengths, which include the research and development power and capability that 3M carries with it. We look at another strength is the infrastructure and management strategies and style that they have introduced, and sometimes at the forefront of organizations. We look at the global presence that 3M has. They are globally, which helps with brand recognition. Also, another strength is profit growth is continuing to rise. That's always helpful, and with continuation of funding research and development and new innovations. They are financially strong, and lastly, their employee turnover rate is very low, which is fantastic. Next, we look at the weaknesses, which include brand recognition. It could be stronger for the size of company that 3M is. Also, they could spend more money on advertising and promotion, marketing. Also, there's a lack of innovation since the Post-it notes. So they kind of lost that sting and haven't been able to reproduce that since the Post-it notes. And lastly, for weaknesses, we have the reinvestment to multiple innovations. This is very costly for them. With all the innovations that they have, they continuously have to reinvest money to update those or make changes to them. Next, we look at the opportunities, and first we have new market opportunities. They could always go into markets that they've maybe haven't thought of yet, or that just new opportunities that they could look at. Looking into purchasing the entire market segment, in places they are only a part of one portion of a market segment, and they could look into purchasing the entire market. And lastly, we have new acquisition possibilities. And then for threats, we have the risk of new acquisitions going wrong, which is always a possibility for any company that goes into a new market, not really knowing what to expect. Next, we have competitors offering a lower price, which again is another thing companies go through. With 3M and the sheer amount of size that they do risk competitors lowering prices. Next is future lawsuits. They do have quite a few lawsuits on them currently, since they are in fields that see a lot of lawsuits. Next, we have profit loss over increased material costs. Again, every company experiences this, but and lastly, multiple CEO changes. So now, taking a look at the making changes slide, this is when 3M realized that it won't continue to strive or be able to fund innovative ideas without continuous innovation and adapting of strategies. So this led to 3M making some difficult yet necessary changes that would soon get them back on track and their profits rising. So one of these strategies was the announcement in 2001 that over 5,000 jobs would soon be lost in order to save money for the company. And this would be a $500 million a year savings for them. On top of this, they also announced they would be reducing the number of packaging suppliers around the globe from 50 to 5, which is crazy. And this would in turn save them around $100 million a year. Next was the Six Sigma process. It was introduced as a cost-saving, process. And in this process, tasks are broken down into segments in which a perfect model is compared to each of the 6 segments, and they're measured by how they stand to the perfect model. Next, they were promised to allocate more resources to new business opportunities that they felt showed promising outcomes. So they would fund more innovations in more products that they thought could become profitable. And lastly, we have the introduction of the 5 initiatives, which include the cost saving or cost control, global sourcing, e-productivity, Six Sigma, and the acceleration program. And these are all strategies put in place to save 3M money. So lastly, to take a look at my recommendations for 3M, I would first recommend 3M to increase their marketing budget to include paid promotions and paid advertisements. I feel as though this would open a lot of doors for them and get increased brand recognition and thus increase overall profits. Another recommendation would be to continue pursuing global markets heavily and increase their global presence and just enter new markets that maybe they hadn't thought of yet or tried in the past but haven't succeeded. There's always possibilities, and I feel as though this would be a profitable one for them. And lastly, like I've mentioned before, they've had multiple CEO shifts, and each of them can be confusing to employees and customers. But with each of the shifts, each CEO took on the same or similar business strategies. So I think it would be beneficial to incorporate past employees' ideas and strategies